Today is October 19th, 2020. The 2020 presidential election is now just 15 days away. In exactly half a month from now, on November 3rd, 2020, we will finally start seeing the 2020 presidential election results come in for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It is almost here, just over 2 weeks from now, we will finally start seeing these results come in for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And in all likelihood, Biden will be the winner of this presidential election. You'll see on screen, Biden has an 88% chance of winning compared to Trump's just 12% chance. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, in fact. I was just looking on FiveThirtyEight.com earlier today, and I saw that Biden has an 88% chance of winning compared to Trump's 12%. And if you do the math, that means Biden's chances of winning are over 7 times more than Trump's chances of winning, which is absolutely insane. 12 times 7 is 84. 88 is still more than 84, so Trump's chance of winning are less than a seventh that of Biden's. This is really bad news for Trump and really good news for Biden. If I were Trump right now, I would definitely be panicking because when you're just 15 days away from the election and a very trustworthy election model says you have less than a 15% chance of winning, meaning that your opponent has a 7 times greater chance of winning compared to you, that is definitely not a good situation to be in at all. That is a terrible situation to be in. Trump just has to pray at this point, pray that a massive miracle happens in his favor. The only way Trump can win at this point, in my opinion, is if something absolutely major happens in the next 2 weeks. Something that I almost can't even conceive of happening that would swing the election enough to where Trump somehow comes out on top, despite having a nearly 10 percentage point gap compared to Biden. In the nationwide polls, Trump has a 10-point deficit in the polls compared to Biden, which is a terrible, terrible situation to be in just half a month away from the election. But the reason why I'm making this video is because I want to actually show you how bad Trump's chances are of winning and how good Biden's chances are of winning. And I want to help you properly visualize the chance that either candidate has of winning. I thought that a good way to help you visualize either candidate's chance of winning was with the spinner. On screen now, you'll see the spinner that has blue and red on it. 88% of the spinner's area is shaded in blue, while 12% of the spinner's area is shaded in red. The blue area represents a scenario where Biden wins the election, while the red area represents a scenario where Trump wins the election. Because Biden has an 88% chance of winning this election, according to FiveThirtyEight.com, 88% of the spinner is shaded in blue, and because Trump has a 12% chance of winning this election, according to FiveThirtyEight.com today, 12% of the spinner is shaded in red. Blue represents a Biden win, red represents a Trump win. But there's much more blue than there is red. Most of the spinner is shaded in blue. There's so much more blue than there is red. Blue has that giant portion of the spinner, while red just has that tiny sliver of the spinner. Blue has all that, while red just has that much. So now what I would like to do is I would like to actually spin this just once, and in all likelihood it is going to be a blue. The spinner is going to land on blue. It's really unlikely that it lands on red. It could land on red, but it probably won't. Most likely it won't. Just like the election, it could be a Trump win, but most likely it won't. Most likely it'll be a Biden win. But let's just spin it now. Pretend this is election day and blue. If the spinner lands on blue, Biden wins. If the spinner lands on red, Trump wins. Just pretend it's election day. Let's see. I'm predicting a Biden win. And yeah, it landed on blue, which would represent the Biden win. So if this spinner dictated the outcome of the presidential election, then my prediction would be correct. My prediction of Biden winning this presidential election would be correct. As you can see right here, it landed on blue just now. I predict blue, it landed on blue. Because blue has more than a 7 times greater chance of happening than red. Just like how Trump has only less than a seventh the chance of Biden of winning this presidential election. Let's do another spin, but it's probably going to land on blue. Yeah, blue. Third one, blue. Fourth one, probably blue, but maybe red. Okay, that one was red. So yeah, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 was red. Yeah, 5 for 1, blue slash Biden. 6 for 1, blue slash Biden. I can keep doing this, but you're gonna get way more blues than reds. Guess we had another red there. Now let's do another scenario. Let's say that we change it to 30. So let's say the election happened 30 days in a row. Let's say every day of November had its own election. Let's see how many of those elections Biden would win. Let me do a new experiment. So this goes back to 0, 0. There you go. If every day of November had an election, so there were 30 elections, 30 presidential elections, Biden, according to his model, would win around 28 of them compared to Trump's just 2. See that red sliver? That's Trump winning the election. That giant blue section of the pie, that's Biden winning. Tiny sliver, Trump winning. Giant section, Biden winning. That is absolutely astonishing. To 30 more. Wow, Trump got 9 more there, which is actually really unlikely. If Trump only has a 12% chance of winning the election, and red only has a 12% chance of getting selected here, then you would expect way less than 9 reds. You would expect like maybe 3 to 4 reds, but not 9. 9 is actually really unlikely. So maybe that could happen in real life for Trump. Maybe Trump beats the odds and actually wins this election. That could happen. You never know. I mean, in 2016, sorry, Trump had a 30% chance of winning according to FiveThirtyEight.com, which is still less than half. So I guess in that aspect he overcame the odds and still won, but 12% is way less than 30%. 12%, 12 over 30 is just 4 out of 10. So compared to 2016, Trump's chances of winning now are 60% less than they were in 2016, compared to 2016, I mean. So I don't think it's really fair to compare this election cycle to 2016, because this is different in so many ways. This election cycle completely different. We have a pandemic now that we didn't back then. We have social unrest now that we didn't really have as much of back then. We had now we have an absolutely terrible economy that we didn't have 4 years ago. There's so many differences, and the polls show Biden having a much wider margin against Trump now than they did for Hillary 4 years ago. So yeah, the polls, at least at the state level, didn't completely predict Trump winning. They were a bit off at the state level. At the national level, though, the polls were accurate because the polls said that Clinton would win by around 2-3 percentage points, and that's basically what she won by on actual election day in terms of the popular vote. She just lost the electoral college, so that's why she's not president. I'll do 30 more spins. Let's do 365 spins. Let's say we had an election every single day of 2021, or 366 if you want to do 2020. 366 spins for every day of 2020. Let me reset. New experiment. There. So every day from January 1 to December 31st of 2020, if every day had an election, Biden would win 318 of those. Trump would win just 48 of them. I think I've done my job of showing you how likely it is that either candidate has of winning this election. I think I've done a decent job of actually helping you visualize both candidates' chances of winning. It's really not looking good for Trump. 12% chance at a half a month before the election. That is a terrible situation to be in. If I were Trump, I would just pray that something major happens in his favor if I were Trump, because things are not looking good for him.